This webinar about ActionStep's workflow. It's great to have so many of you interested in this topic. Workflow is a topic that we love to talk about here at ActionStep. In fact, I doubt any customer of ActionStep has not had one of our sales team members or support team or customer success team extol the virtues of our workflow. Despite that, it's still something that's worth promoting as the value it can give your business is amazing. We've found that workflow has become a bit of a fashionable phrase lately, with different software packages all promoting some version of workflow. However, as you will see by the end of this webinar, ActionStep is uniquely situated to offer a true customize your business workflow tool. In this webinar, we want to explain what ActionStep's workflow means and give you some examples of how you can use it to help you, your colleagues, and your firm excel. Before we tear into things, I just wanted to introduce who you'll be hearing from today and to cover off a few of these housekeeping items. My name is Duncan McDougall, and I'm one of the Senior Product Managers here at ActionStep. And today I'm going to be joined by Tyler Bannerman from our ActionStep sales team. If anyone is wondering, yes, today's webinar will be recorded and we will automatically send you a copy of that recording after the webinar finishes. As long as you're registered for it, you should get a copy of this webinar in your inbox sometime today. If you also want to get a recording for a colleague or friend, just reach out to ActionStep support team and they'll be able to help. Remember to use that chat bubble in your ActionStep to connect to our team. As the webinar goes, you'll see that the content that we present will be in the main part of the window to the right, and to the left will be the chat area. So if you have any questions during the webinar, type them in there and we'll be able to attempt to answer them as we go. Next, this is just one of many webinars we will be running. We'd like to encourage you to go to our website, actionstep.com/events, to see all the others that we have scheduled. For some of the webinars that we're looking to run going forward, if you register in advance, we will be sending out invites to a workshop session after the webinar so that you can have a smaller group and more hands-on approach to learning about the topics that we discuss in the webinars. Unfortunately, we don't have a workshop planned for this webinar, but if you would be interested in workshops on workflow, please do let us know and we can plan something for the future. So, what are we going to be covering today? I'll start off by talking us through some of the good reasons why you want to use workflow for your own firm and the advantages that ActionStep's workflow can provide. Then Tyler will take us through some examples of good workflows in action. And after that, Tyler will break down what ActionStep's workflow is a bit more and describe the various parts that make up workflow. Then I'll finish off with some suggested ways that you can start to embrace workflow using your own ActionStep. So let me start off by explaining what a set of well-designed workflows can deliver for you. As you use ActionStep's workflows, you'll see that there are more benefits than this, but I wanted to focus on these 5 concepts. The ability for you to automate functions within your firm to reduce the time wastage and increase your efficiency, to be able to ensure you're complying with your needs, whether that is external compliance that must be met as you represent your clients, or if it's just ensuring that your firm and its staff are complying with the firm's success goals or KPIs. Making sure that all your team are delivering a consistent and reliable service by making the process uniform. Capturing and updating details to allow you to report on how your staff and matters are progressing. And lastly, the value of being able to put your own stamp on how your firm works, taking the things that make the service that you offer to your clients unique and then baking that into your legal practice management tool that you're using. Firstly, let's talk about automation. Now, it'll come as no surprise that most lawyers want to spend their day practicing law. However, for many out there, the day is filled with anything but. Automation should allow you to reduce the manual tasks that end up taking away from your day. It should solve that difficult decision between taking the time to work on your client's legal problems or doing the long list of other things that you have to do for your job. To give a high level example, we see wonderful firms that are growing and succeeding by offering great customer service to their clients. They realize that their clients don't just want representation, they want help and guidance. And a client will often value great service over results. Even if you lose a copyright claim, if your client feels informed and supported and understood along the way, they're more likely to engage your services again. One key part to this can be client communications, letting your client know what is happening as it's happening, and what that means can make a world of difference to the people who end up paying your bills. Within ActionStep's workflow, you can build steps for your matters, and for each step, you can trigger a raft of actions that will be triggered. Those actions can be tasks for your colleagues, documents generated from the details on your matter, or emails sent from ActionStep. You can also trigger communications to be sent based on those tasks that were created or key dates on your matter. Using this type of automation, you can automatically send out emails to your clients when you reach important stages in your cases. For example, you could send an email saying that your will has been drafted and has been reviewed by our senior partner. We expect this to be ready shortly and would like to organise a time for you to come into the office and have it signed. Please click the link below. You can send communications when certain tasks are completed. We have processed and submitted your visa application. This can take 15 to 20 days to process. We'll let you know as soon as we hear back from the Department of Immigration. Or sometimes, more importantly, when tasks are not completed. We have yet to receive further details. We requested on the 17th. If you have any questions concerning the request, I'll be happy to talk you through your needs, etc., etc. By loading these client communications into your system, you can save hours each week while still delivering fantastic service. Law can be a competitive space, and whether you're trying to differentiate yourself by offering a lower price or by offering better services to your customers, automation will help with that. Next is compliance. Compliance might not sound like the most glamorous part of practicing law, but we all know how important it can be. Ensuring that you are compliant is not just making sure you're meeting your law society regulations, but that you are meeting your client's needs or even your firm's needs. ActionStep's workflow allows you to instill a task management system that ensures that what needs getting done is done. As I mentioned before, the ability to have tasks created and assigned to your staff when they should be. Not just in advance, but based on the context of what's actually happening on your matter. Within a workflow in ActionStep, you break the process into a number of steps, and at each step, you can be creating the tasks you need. More than that, you can ensure that you're not moving ahead without doing what matters. Tasks can be used to ensure that you don't progress to the next step until what is required has been completed. You're building the process and the tasks. You can suit it to your own needs. Tasks can be on a day-to-day item, such as submitting a document to a court before a deadline, or they could be on driving better engagement, like knowing that that patent is about to expire. The other part of compliance is ensuring that you're capturing the correct details. ActionStep's workflow can be built to capture details, whatever you need, and make sure that those fields are required at the point in time that you need them. You can't engage a client until you've captured the required details about them. You know that you can file in court or complete a settlement because you have gathered the correct information required to be at that part of your matter. And because you've built your processes into your workflow, you're also able to achieve uniformity across your business. Having a standardized process built into your system gives you the peace of mind that the basics that you want done are all done the same. That the service you give from one lawyer in your firm will be consistent with that of another lawyer in the firm. Managing matters and collaborating on matters is easier if you're all working off the same process. And this also allows you to take the successful way that you've built to service your clients and expand on it. Onboarding new staff is faster and easier as you have the system that steps those staff through the process. You should also find it easier to pass work from one staff member to another, as the format and the key information will all be consistent in your matters. And then all of this will feed into reporting. You can report on if you are compliant, seeing tasks that are tagged as related to compliance that are approaching their due date. You can understand where each matter is by seeing what stage or step it's up to. All the information you capture can be pulled out so you can get a wide picture of what's happening across all your matters, not just on a matter by matter basis. Monitoring staff workloads, measuring profitability of your different types of matters, the efficiency of your staff can all be aided by building the information that you want to know into your workflow. We have ActionStep clients who know how well they are doing because they're able to see information about their matters, deduce what is the best way to measure their productivity, and then bake that into their workflow so that they can build reports around that. They can then use ActionStep's reporting and heads up rules to filter down to relevant information and get that emailed to them every day or week or month, depending on when they need it. And throughout all of this, I've talked about building and customizing your own processes in workflow. And all of the workflow capabilities that ActionStep offers are available for you to utilize. While we have partners who can do this customization for you, you're not reliant on someone else building this. The workflow builder is easy to understand, allowing you to create workflows that are simple or complex depending on your needs. If a field is not written correctly, you can change it. If you need to send a communication to a client automatically at a particular step, you write that communication and set it there where it will be triggered. Everything that ActionStep's workflow can do is all configured by an admin as part of ActionStep. This all might sound great conceptually. Now, I'm going to hand over to Tyler, who can take you through some examples of great workflow in use.
Thanks for that, Duncan. As Duncan mentioned, my name's Tyler. I'm one of the sales executives here at ActionStep. And what I wanted to do in this next section was just take you through in ActionStep some practical examples of how workflow can really benefit your firm. So I thought I would show a few different examples from maybe everything from good use of workflow at the beginning of a matter, in the mid stages of it, and then maybe finally at wrapping it up as well. Now, I really find when I see different workflows being used in ActionStep, I find that a good workflow takes advantage of three or four core things within ActionStep upon each step of the workflow. The first is tasks, really great, really important. That's where we're going to be ensuring compliance to all of our proper processes within the firm, making sure that core things are getting done, and where we're going to be able to get some really good reporting off the back of that as well. The second is taking use of ActionStep's document automation within workflow. The third, and one of the things that I find most important in workflow, is the automated email ability as well, which you can use for a wide variety of different reasons. And then the fourth is what we call custom data, which basically means that you are getting your staff to enter in key pieces of information pertaining to the matter as you move from one step to the next. So you can make sure that you are capturing that proper information. And then the last thing I'll also do once we go through some practical examples is I'll just quickly show you where can you actually start doing these things yourself in ActionStep. So why don't we get into some practical examples here. So what I'm going to do is we'll go through a couple different matters and some different possible workflows. So All the workflows that I'm going to use are actually ones that are available on the ActionStep website in our marketplace that you can add into your system. Some of them are actually included as well in your in lots of systems nowadays as well. So we'll cover things like employment, some family law ones, and I've also just got a general litigation matter as well. So the first here is an employment dispute that I have. And right from the get-go, what I'm going to do is if I go into client engagement here, I've got a number of different things I'm basically automating using workflow. So the first is my welcome pack. So that's just an automatic document that's going to be generated that's going to give the client all sorts of really good information. It doesn't necessarily have to be an engagement letter, but it could be a welcome pack on different services you cover, frequently asked questions. Maybe this is where you might add some additional information that they might find useful. And we're going to have stuff like that get automatically sent out as well via email. So right from the get-go, I'm giving the client an automated email letting them know, hey, we have picked up your matter in your inquiry, and we're sending them some good, useful information right from the start. So those are things that you should be automating from the get-go here. Um, if we go ahead to the next matter, we've got a general defense matter here. Now, I've got a few different options in terms of my workflow. I can go to mediation or I can go to trial. Going to trial is going to give me a whole range of automatic tasks that are going to be tied to certain dates. So I can see here, I've got a number of different tasks that are being automatically assigned to my barrister on this file. Some of them are tied to the next hearing date, and I've got one that's just going to be assigned that's due 7 days after I change step in the workflow here. Again, so we're making sure that all of that core work gets done. We've got a couple of automatic documents getting generated. Again, we're keeping the client up to date here that we have with an automatic email letting them know, hey, we are progressing through this matter. And so that we actually have these tasks get assigned and due for the proper date, rather than leaving it up to chance that the next hearing date is actually going to be properly entered before my user can change step here. I'm going to enforce them. I can see that with the little red asterisk there, that I'm enforcing the user to put in that next hearing date here as well. Finally, if we go across here to another example where maybe we're wrapping up a matter, so maybe I'm going just into finalizing, we're going to make sure that my legal assistant is ensuring that any outstanding disbursements and balances have been billed and paid. I'm going to issue the client with a final letter and a final trust statement. We're going to have, and then finally as well, we're going to have an automated email get sent out asking our client to thanking them for their service and for using us and for choosing us as their firm, and also asking them to post a Google review. That's one thing that we see a core number of our firms do that drives so much new business their way. Just by simply putting a Google review request into workflow, you get so many more Google reviews going through on your website, and that's going to push you up whenever someone might be searching for legal services. That's going to push your firm to the top. So would highly recommend putting that in when in one of your final steps in a workflow as well. So that's that automation piece in terms of ensuring tasks are being assigned, keeping the client up to date with automated emails and asking for key things, and then ensuring that key pieces of information are entered as well. Now, the other piece that is really great about using ActionStep's workflow is it's going to give you really good reportability as well. Each one of these stages lets you as a manager or as a partner or as a director know where are all of your matters up to. So you should be able to go into one of your many ActionStep reports here that you can find within your matters, and you should simply be able to go into maybe your conveyancing matters as an example, and now at a quick glance, I can see here's all of the conveyancing files that I'm currently handling for these different clients here. Here's the step that they're on, so I know instantly where everything's up to. I've got two sitting on unconditional, one for the purchaser and one for the vendor. I've got one hitting post-settlement, two new ones, and one quite early in its stages as well. I can see the address, and I can also see the settlement dates. Now, with this, because you're also using workflow, you can, if when you've got dozens or hundreds or thousands of matters and you want to start filtering on things, it means that you can then quickly jump into the filters here and you can start checking out matters that might be only on certain steps as well. So it gives you that really good reportability to come into here every Monday or Friday, just had a quick glance, see where are all of your matters up to. Now, all of this stuff is within your control. That's the whole point of ActionStep is you should be able to come in here, create these workflows, add these pieces to it, and not have to be some master coder to know how to do so. So simply go into the admin area of ActionStep and go to your matter types. And once you're in your matter types, you'll be able to come into your workflow area here and simply click on one of your steps on the right, for instance, finalize matter, which we just saw in that family law one. And here's all the areas that you can start to switch on within ActionStep to get automatic actions out of them. That's what we call them here, step actions. So in the example that I just showed you, again, if we go back to this example of divorce advice here, I've got 2 automated tasks and I've got 1 automated email in this case. You can see that here by the fact that I've got emails and tasks switched on. And I can see here I've got my automated email, which I've written and can amend and edit. I've got my 2 automated tasks, and there's lots of other things I can switch on, which you saw in my previous examples of things such as custom data, ensuring that our users are entering in key pieces of information, and also document templates. Simply switch that on and tell ActionStep which documents you'd like to have generate. What Duncan's now going to do is he's going to give you a bit more of a step-by-step instruction on how to actually start your own workflow and how to build that. So what I'll do now is I'll hand it back to Duncan.
Thanks, Tyler. Some amazing options shown there. Now, I wanted to just round out this webinar by talking about some helpful hints to consider if you're going to be building your own workflow in ActionStep. First off, we get 2 types of people who set up workflow in ActionStep. And the first type is the enthusiastic. People who see all the options that ActionStep offers and can't hold themselves back. For those people, I would strongly suggest that you keep the following in mind. Firstly, keep things simple. It is always better to have a simple rather than comprehensive solution, especially for your first attempt. If you're going to dive straight in, try to map things out on a whiteboard, piece of paper first. Getting a high-level plan makes the implementation easier. Also, get feedback. Often it's not just a process for you, but one for everyone. So talking things through with your colleagues can help you settle on what the best approach would be. Lastly, and this is a good idea, trust me, think about the end user. Too often we see a customer build a 30-step process with 100 tasks and then roll it out to the users, and the results are not what they expected. If your users don't want to complete dozens of tasks to be able to progress through their matter, then they won't enjoy using workflow that you built. Keep in mind that someone has to use what you've built, and the easier it is for them to use, the better. Now, for the second type of person who will build workflow in ActionStep, those of you who want to ease into using workflow, the process can be simple. Every matter will start with 2 basic steps: the start or open step and the close step. Regardless of how you want to use workflow, you should at least have these 2 in place. This makes a lot of sense. It's the 2 things that you do on a matter. You open it and close it, regardless of what happens between those 2 steps. Now, I would encourage you to stop for a moment and to think about what happens in your firm when you open a matter. Do you do it as soon as you hear about the opportunity of a potential client? Do you open a matter once the client's paid up front? When do you need to start capturing details? Is it when you file a case, when you've engaged with the client? Once you've thought about that, think about when you should open a matter. Uh, is the process that you're using right now best? Incidentally, this is actually one of the best things that some of our clients have to go through. Building workflow does get you to sit back and look at how you do things and compare to how you should do things. It's a great stimulator for improvement within a business. However, in my experience, most users find that they want to open a file before they even know if they have that person engaged as a client. And this is the first thing that I would recommend that people do to add to their workflow. Add an engagement step. By adding an engagement step to the workflow, you are able to gain three things. First, you can know what stage your matter is at. You'll be able to look at your list of matters that are on the start step, and you're seeing a list of matters that you're still trying to engage with that client on. Now you know who you need to follow up on. And you can also get a list of matters that are just on the engaged step. So that's the work that will occupy your day. People who have engaged with you that you need to get through the work with. The second reason is that you can now update your open step and your engagement steps to gather the information you need at each of those stages. At the start step, you might need to just grab a customer's name and a simple description of their issue. But on the engagement step, you might need proof of ID, a retainer, details of the opposing party, key dates and information that are particular to what type of matter it is. Lastly, you can trigger the actions that are appropriate to those steps. You can create an automatic email to thank them for contacting you. You could set up tasks to do conflict checks and to send an engagement letter, to complete an estimate of the fees within 30 days of your start step. You can separate all the tasks that are required to engage with a client from those that you need to do when representing them. The tasks for representing them, the things that you need to do to service your client, you can build in on the engagement step. What you do from there will depend on the type of matter that you're processing. Some matter types will be quite variable. What will happen with one matter will be very different from the last, and perhaps the simple 3-step workflow will be enough. Most, however, will have some consistency. There will be certain milestones that each, or at least most cases, will meet, and you can build them in. Once you have those steps in place, you can then build in the required information and triggered actions that you need for each. And as I mentioned before, consider not just what needs to be triggered when, but when items need to be completed by. For example, updating your close step can be the last thing you want to do. What do you need to ensure that this case is ready to be closed? Don't worry about the work that must have been done to happen before. To close this case, you'll want to send a thank you communication to your client. You want to ensure that they're billed. You might want to send a trust statement. These are all tasks that you can create on earlier steps, but are set to block the closing of a matter until every one of them that needs to be done is done. Once you've created some simple steps in a workflow, consider these things next. As you built your workflow, you probably started with a very linear process. Open matter, engage client, do the work, wrap it up, you close. Now, consider alternative. What happens if the case goes to mediation rather than to court? What if your client never engages with you? How do you close it? What do you want to do if they appeal a decision? You can build alternative steps and processes into your workflow. You can use jump steps to allow a user to jump ahead in the process or back in the process if that's what's required. Lastly, consider letting some people have a go with the workflow you have built and be ready to make some changes based on feedback. You can use permissions in ActionStep to ensure that only some of your users are able to create a new workflow that you have built. And often you will get the best results once your staff are using a workflow and you're able to make those important tweaks. That's all we have for you today. So thank you for listening and watching as we scratch the surface of the potential that workflow can offer for you and your business. If you have any questions that occur to you after this webinar, please let us know. If you're an ActionStep customer, reach out to our support team through that chat bubble in ActionStep, or you can email your ActionStep partner consultant or our customer success team on that email that's on screen. If you're not an ActionStep customer at the moment, well, let us know. You can visit actionstep.com for more details, and please reach out to us. We would love to talk to you about all the other ways, not just through workflow, that ActionStep can help make your law practice better. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you have a great day.